Ready? इसका केसी रिव्यू का सेट नंबर 7 कंप्लीट हो गया और सबमिट करेगा। और जो कंप्लीट नहीं हुआ है कंप्लीट करने के बाद में सबमिट करेगा और 7 नंबर की जगह 8 नंबर लेंगे। इन सभी की डिक्टेशंस आपको एक ही सीटिंग में करनी है। कुछ वर्ड बोल रहा हूँ तो नोट डाउन करेंगे। इट इज नॉट, इट वाज, इट मे बी, इट कैन हैव, it should be, it would not, of it, of them, of that, of her, of me, of him, of my, of our, of course, to do, to this, to have, to meet, to send, to stay, to reply. For this, for that, for you may, for many, for myself, for anyone, if we can, if we may, if they may, if you can, if you would, if no one, and they, and this, and we, and I, and is, and his, and as, and has, and there is, and there has, and be seen, and have done. Should have, should be, should not be, should now, should there, should this, should we. On his, on which, on many, on your, on our, on those, on that, on their. But they, but we may, but must, but can we, but that is, but this, but there. I have this, I had them, I do that, I shall be, I thank you, I think that you are, I know that we, you are, you would be, you can, you go, you may, you should, we can, we have, we shall be, we do, we had, we may, we are, he is, he has, he is not, he has not, he was, he cannot be, he may have, he may be pleased, he is unable, she is, she was, she may have, any more, anytime, in any case. They may be, they can be, they must, they thought we, they have, they do not, they just. This can have, this can be, this could not, this may, this time, this does. That it, that they, that this, that may, that has been, that is not, that is never, there are, there cannot, there can be, there was, there would have, there is no one, have his, have as, have us, have that, have they, have them, have not, have never, have you been, have we seen। आउटलाइन देख लें एक बार इनकी, सारे वर्ड बन गए होंगे मोस्टली, क्योंकि टफ तो कोई भी नहीं था इसके अंदर। इट इज, देखो सबसे पहले मैं आपको एक समझाता हूं कि ये जो सर्कल बनता है लाइन से ऊपर, स्मॉल सर्कल, ये बनता है एज का, हैज, इज, हिज। बुक में ऐसा कोई कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं कि आप यहाँ पे इसको कट करो, यहाँ इसके अंदर डॉट लगाओ, या फिर इसको लाइट करो या इसको डार्क करो। ये तीन चीज़ें चलती है ज़्यादातर जो यूज़ करते हैं डिफरेंस करने के लिए, कि एज लाइट कर दिया, हैज़ डार्क कर दिया, इस लाइट कर दिया, हिज डार्क कर दिया, या फिर अंदर डॉट पुट कर दिया या कट कर दिया। देखो इनिशियल स्टेज यहाँ से स्टार्ट होती है, जब मैंने स्टार्ट किया था मैंने यही बताता था बच्चों को, लेकिन लाइट डार्क का डिफरेंस बाद में कम हो रहा था, नी प्रेशर डाल पा रहे थे, तो हमने डॉट पुट करना स्टार्ट किया। फिर क्या हो रहा था, पेन उठ रहा था, तो हमने डायरेक्शन चेंज की, इसको क्या किया, एज को वर्टिकल कट कर दिया हैज़ के लिए, और हिज के लिए हमने कट किया हॉरिजॉन्टल। हालांकि ये एक ऐसे वर्ड्स है अगर आप थोड़ा भी सेंस लगाओ सेंटेंस से आइडेंटिफाई हो जाते हैं, आपको इनके लिए बहुत ज़्यादा रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं पड़ती इन चीज़ों की डिफरेंस करने की। इनिशियल स्टेज पे जब ग्रामर बिल्कुल ही नहीं क्लियर हो, इन दैट केस आपको डिफरेंस की जरूरत पड़ती है, वरना ग्रामेटिकली ही पता लग जाता है कि इसके साथ में एज आएगा या इसके साथ में वो हैज़ होगा, इसके साथ ये इज होगा या उसके साथ वो हिज होगा, सेम होते हैं। अगर आप ग्रामेटिकल कर पा रहे हो तो सबसे बेस्ट होता है। ग्रामेटिकली आइडेंटिफाई करना एज और हैज़ को, इज और हिज को ज़्यादा बेस्ट है कट करने से। लेकिन फिर भी दिक्कत आती है तो आप ये पैटर्न यूज़ कर सकते हो, या ऑलरेडी अगर कोई पैटर्न आप यूज़ कर रहे हो तो उस पर एग्जिस्ट कर सकते हो। तो जब मैं अब आपको बताऊंगा यहाँ पे, या तो ये तरीका है कि आप इट में सर्कल लगा लो, आइडेंटिफाई कर लो कि ये इज है या हैज़ है, या फिर आप कट भी कर सकते हो। आगे चलेंगे, इट इज नॉट, तो यहां पे एन को हाफ कर देते हैं, इट के साथ में वाज, इट क्या हो गया ये, इट मे बी, इट कैन हैव, इट शुड बी, इट वुड नॉट, ऑफ और इट, ऑफ them, of that, of her, of me भी हो सकता है, अगर आप ऊपर डॉट लगा देंगे ऑफ हिम पढ़ेंगे या ऑफ माई पढ़ सकते हो, ठीक है। हालांकि बिना इसके भी यही ऑफ मी और ऑफ माई पढ़ा जा सकता है, डिफरेंस नहीं होता, इन दैट केस लगा सकते हो, पहले डिफरेंस हो जाता है इनके अंदर, कोई दिक्कत नहीं आती। ऑफ आवर, ऑफ कोर्स, टू डू डैश लगा सकते हो, नहीं तो बिना उसके भी डू ही पढ़ा जाएगा ये, टू दिस, टू हैव, टू मीट, टू सेंड हाफ एंड डार्क, टू स्टे, टू रिप्लाई, फॉर दिस, फॉर को लाइन से ऊपर रखना, फॉर दैट, फॉर यू, मे, फॉर मैनी, फॉर माई सेल्फ। अगर यहां पे फॉर हिमसेल्फ आता है तो यहां डॉट लगा सकते हो ऊपर। फॉर एनीवन, अगर यहां पे फॉर नो वन आता है तो या तो यहां डैश लगा लो या फिर एनी में कट कर सकते हो आप। अगर ये नहीं कटना चाहते तो यहां पे कट कर सकते हो, चॉइस है आपकी। वैसे ये बेस्ट है कि आप नो में यहां पे डैश लगा सकते हो। दो तरह का नो आता है, एक तो आता है एन ओ और एक आता है के एन ओ डब्ल्यू, जो कि सेंटेंस की सेंस से ऑटोमेटिकली आइडेंटिफाई हो जाता है, ज्यादा डिफरेंस नहीं आता। आई नो यू, आई हैव नो चॉइस, तो आप आइडेंटिफाई कर लेते हो बहुत इजीली, तो इसमें कुछ भी डिफरेंस करने की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं होती। फिर भी चाहो तो आप नो के लिए डिफरेंस कर सकते हो, एक में ये लगा सकते हो। वैसे मैं ग्राम लोग में नो में बताता हूँ, आप किसी एक में यूज कर सकते हो डैश का नीचे। और नो वन, इफ वी कैन, if they may, if you can, if you would, and they, and this, and we, and I, and is, and is, and has, and his, and there is, there has। कट करना चाहोगे कट कर सकते हो बाद में जाके। and be seen, and have done, and should, and should एक साथ नहीं आएगा। should have, should be, should not be, should now, should there, THEIR हो, THERE हो, ये भी सेंटेंस की सेंस से निकल जाते हैं। देयर वाज ए किंग तो THERE होगा। और जब वर्ब के बाद देयर आता है तो जनरली वो पोजीशन के साथ में आता है, दे के केस में उसके अधिकार को शो करने के लिए THEIR यूज करते हैं। तो ये आराम से सेंस में यूज होते हैं। तो इसमें अगर मिस्टेक्स हो रही है तो आपको बस थोड़ा सा ध्यान देना है। अगर किसी की देयर THERE और THEIR में मिस्टेक्स हो रही है तो थोड़ा सा ध्यान देने पर ये मिस्टेक्स दूर हो जाएगी। इनका यूजेस अलग अलग है दोनों का। शुड दिस, शुड बी, ऑन हिज, चाहो तो कट कर सकते हो ऊपर को वर्टिकली, ऑन विच, ऑन मैनी, ऑन योर, ऑन आवर, ऑन दोज। अगर लाइन भी टच करेंगे क्या हो जाएगा? ऑन दिस, ऑन दैट, ऑन देयर, बट दे का साइज थोड़ा बड़ा रखो, बट वी मे, बट मस्ट, बट कैन वी, बट दैट, बट दिस, बट दैट इज, बट देयर। अगर बट दिस इज होता तो सर्कल को बड़ा कर देते हैं। I have this, I had them, I do that. अगर दिक्कत आती है तो डू में डैश लगा सकते हो. I shall be, I thank you, I think that you are, I know that we, you are, you would be, you can, you go, you may. You should का साइज छोटा. We can, we have ऐसे भी बना सकते हो, we have का हुक भी लगा सकते हो. दोनों तरह से यूज किया जाता है. We have, we shall be, we do या we had, एक में do में डैश लगा सकते हो. We may, we are, he is, he has कट कर सकते हो. he his में वर्टिकल कट कर सकते हो. he is not, he was, he cannot be, he may have, he may be pleased, he is unable, she is, she was, she may have, any more, no more में डैश लगा सकते हो नीचे. any time, in any case, they may be, they can be, लाइन को टच होना चाहिए. they must, they thought, we, इसको हाफ करेंगे. they have, they do not, dn को हाफ कर देंगे. they just, this can have, this can be, this could not, this may, this time, this does, that it, that they, that this, that may, that has been, that is not, that is never, there are, sorry, there are लाइन से ऊपर बनेगा. there are, they are, सॉरी गलत कर दिया क्या. they are और ये है there are. लाइन से ऊपर अल्टरनेट फॉर्म में they are, और लाइन को टच करते हैं there में, फिर आर्क अपवर्ड there are. there can be, there was, there would have, there is no one. have is लाइन पर टच करते हुए, या have as, या कट करके यहाँ पे अस भी लग सकते हो. have अस के लिए नीचे अंदर डैश मार सकते हो. have they, have not, have never, have you been, have we seen. लिखो क्विकली, फिर डिक्टेशन लिखेंगे. it is not, it was, it may be, it can have, it should be, it would not, of it, of them, of that, of her, of me, of my, of him, of our, of course, to do, to this, to have, to meet, to send, to stay, to reply, for this, for that, for you may, for many, for myself, for anyone, if we can, if they may, if you can, if you would, if no one, and they, and this, and we, and I, and is, and there is, and be seen, and have done, should have, should be, should not be, should now, should there, should this, should we, on his, on which, on many, on your, on our, on those, on that, on their, but they, but we may, but must, but can we, but that is, but this, but there. I have this, I had them, I do that, I shall be, I thank you, I think that you are, I know that we, you are, you would be, you can, you go, you may, you should, we can, we have, we shall be, we do, we may, we are, he is not, he was, he cannot be, he may have, he may be pleased, he is unable, she is, she was, she may have, any more, any time, in any case, they may be, they can be, they must, they thought we, they have, they do not, they just, this can have, this can be, this could not, this may, this time, this does, that it, that they, that this, that may, that has been, that is not, that has never, there are, there cannot, there can be, there was, there would have, there is no one, have his, have that, have they, have not, have never, have you been, have we seen. पहले 120 लिखेंगे, फिर 100 लिखेंगे, फिर 90 लिखेंगे, फिर 80 लिखेंगे और कोशिश करेंगे जब मैं हाई बोलूँगा तो आप पेन नहीं रोकेंगे, कोशिश करेंगे उनको लिखने की लगातार, हाई लो लो पे लिखेंगे. रेडी? सेकेंड बैच 12:15 बजे से स्टार्ट होगा भाई, आज से 12:15 से दूसरा बैच होगा स्टार्ट. Start it. Madam Deputy Chairman, the main question for consideration of this House is whether the increase in the passenger fares and in the freights that has been proposed by the Railway Minister should have the support of this House or not. I have been listening with some interest to the speeches so far made, and they are all unanimous on one point, namely that there should be no increase, particularly so far as the second class passengers are concerned. What we have to decide at present is that those friends who have emphasized their opposition to this levy have also said that in view of our developing economy, in view of our developing industrialization, in view of the fact that there is a greater demand for passenger traffic as well as goods traffic, we have to develop our railway system. We have to see that we increase our lines. We have also to see that we double our lines. We have also to see that the production of the locomotives, wagons and coaches is increased with greater rapidity, otherwise we will not be able to meet the demand of the developing economy. It is also agreed that according to the recommendations of the Pay Commission, we all feel that our workers, our laborers are entitled to DA, which will be to the tune of rupees 12 crores, There are no two opinions about it. It is also demanded that, so far as amenities to the workers are concerned regarding their privileges and concessions or the repairs to the stock are concerned, there is very urgent need that we should see that our workers do not strain themselves. An engine driver should not be asked to do work for more than 12 hours. Similarly, others in the railways should have also further concessions so far as leisure, rest and leave are concerned. It is also agreed and it has been emphatically stressed on all hands that the second class passengers are not getting amenities which they should get. The greater portion of the income comes from the second class passengers and the position is that they are not getting their due by way of rest and comfort which are necessary for them. I appreciate that effort is being made that so far as sleeping accommodation and provision of fans to the second class passengers are concerned, something is being done. Sir, it is my opinion that English should be retained in this country for years to come till we find that we could translate all the essential books on science and technology, etc., into Hindi, which should be able to help us in educating our boys, especially in the technical institutions through Hindi as the medium. Here, sir, some of the members have pointed out with regard to the introduction of different types of education in the same state or in various parts of this country. We find that a majority of the children of our country who are to be governed by the boys who are sent to the public schools. Most of the children of the haves are sent to the public schools and they are imparted expert training, and when they come out they are definitely superior to those boys who undergo this basic system of education. If this basic education is considered to be the best for the development of our country in the socialistic way, we will have somehow of our country in the socialistic way, we will have somehow or other to find some better means of imparting education whereby they will be able to compete with the students who are now undergoing training in the public schools. Unless we do it, we will be creating, as I previously mentioned, a second class of citizens in this country. I hope the authorities who are concerned with the planning of education in this country will review their schemes according to the suggestions that I have put forth now. In the same way, sir, our country is mainly depending on our agriculture and industries for the development of our economy. But the agriculturists are an ignorant section of our people who do not find, in spite of the development in that sector of our economy of high production, a better income, as the industrial section is fast improving and their standard of living has gone high. At the same time, in spite of the better production in the agricultural section, the agrarian population has not come at par with the industrial section of this country. In the same way, industrial laborers are organized. Most of them are given so many benefits and advantages according to the legislation that is passed for the betterment of industrial laborers of this country. वन थर्टी के आसपास स्पीड है और 110 के आसपास लिखेंगे आप. रेडी? Started. Madam Deputy Chairman, I rise to participate in this discussion not with a view to ventilate particular grievances or to secure concessions and relief in the taxation measures. I am one of those who believe that there is no justification for additional taxation unless the conditions laid down by the Taxation Inquiry Commission are compiled with. It was a commission presided over by no less a person than Dr. John Mathai, one of our illustrious finance minister, and it laid down that there was no justification for any additional taxation unless we compiled with 2 or 3 conditions. One condition was that whatever tax was realized was being properly spent, that there was no wastage or superfluous expenditure being incurred. The Commission had pointed out that out of every rupee that was being raised by the government, 60 paise were being spent on administration and about 20 paise were being spent on social services, including education, etc., and the balance for other things. Another was that whatever tax was being imposed should be realized before we brought out measures for fresh taxation. They also had suggested that there was sufficient room for economy in all the materials and departments, and effective steps should be taken forthwith in government expenditure. Now we have before us this audit report for 2011-12, which was presented to the Lok Sabha on the 6th June and which came to my hands last night, and I have not been able to study it. I find that during the last 5 years we have imposed additional taxation, and at the same time our revenue expenditure has gone up by about rupees 42 crores. So on the one hand we say that we are raising this money, these taxes, for the implementation of the plan, and for that reason every chief minister and ministers go about saying that we want money for the implementation of the plan. And for that reason every chief minister and minister go about saying that we want money for the implementation of the plan. But what we are the facts? We find that the money that has been raised is being used for administrative purposes. So it is not correct to say that. On the other hand, it is not proper, because you must know that no plan, however well balanced and well thought out it may be, can be implemented in a democratic setup unless you can enthuse the people. Unless these things are done as they are in other countries like England, unless that type of spirit is created in the country by all the people of all types of views, not being allowed to create differences and doubts in the minds of the people, we cannot in a democratic setup have the success which we want, and we cannot fulfill our promises to the people. Without going further into that aspect, which really came to my mind as a result of the long speech of Mr. Bhupesh Gupta, I would like to make a few suggestions so that a proper attitude towards giving of one's best to the plan and to raise the national economy can be developed. I would like to make 3 or 4 points. Firstly, we have to see that we take steps to check corruption at any level, whether it is among the people in the public sector or among the officials. Then we have also to see that we give a proper type of education, rose a proper spirit of service. We must also check the trends for inflation and also lay stress on austerity so that the people will feel that there is something at stake. I would not like to take much time of the House. The main problem in our country is the growing population, and in spite of all the efforts that made to raise the standards of living and raise production, etc., the results are not as easily perceptible as they should have been. That is a separate problem by itself, but in spite of that, it is possible for the government to show better result if the government were to undertake immediately and see that some of the promises that are made, the acts that are passed, and the plans that are drawn up are properly implemented. I have been seeing this leucena in the present position. Now the government have started a new ministry. It was very necessary because the plans of the different ministries sometimes were likely to go contrary to each other's aims. I do not want to go into details. For instance, take the question of the promotion of export. A commodity in the country to the consumer may go on rising. Who is to see to that? Take tea, for example, it had to be exported and nobody was there to see whether there was enough tea for consumption in the country and what was the price at which it was available to the consumer in the past. 828 word है. हंड्रेड 10 प्लस स्पीड है, 100 भी लिखेंगे. Start it. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, it was felt for a long time that the Limitation Act of 1908, which had certain amendments, deserved reconsideration in all its aspects. With this object in view, not only regarding this act, but regarding all the acts that are at present in force after independence, we appointed a law commission to revise all our laws. Sir, the law commission went this matter in very great detail and referring to certain basic principles that have been adopted and certain amendments that have been suggested by the Commission of Revision appointed in the United Kingdom. They have gone through the whole enactment and suggested certain modifications not only in sections but also in articles. I am very glad that the Law Ministry has brought forward the bill on the basis, as the Deputy Law Minister has pointed out, that they have not followed the recommendations of the Law Commission, but in general they have adopted the recommendations of the Law Commission in most of its aspects. Sir, as this matter is to be entrusted the jointed committee of both the houses, it will have the benefit of the deliberations of all those members who are in the select committee, and so generally speaking, neither is this the occasion nor the practice to go into details, but we can just suggest certain general matters so that the select committee may take them into consideration while deliberating in detail on the different provisions of this bill. Sir, in view of my experience as a lawyer, I feel that the law of limitation is a procedural matter except in certain sections where it confers definite rights on account of possession or certain other matters. We have to see that the matters that are disputed or are under litigation are disposed or are under litigation are disposed of in as short a period as possible. The trend everywhere is that the people should not be kept in suspense either before litigation or after litigation. So my humble suggestion to the members of the select committee will be to see that course of litigation is as much circumscribed, as much reduced as is possible in consonance with the basic principle of fairness, justice and inquiry. To substantiate what I am submitting, I would give an example and the members of the select committee will go into details of the Law Commission report. We have had some achievements which are remarkable, of which we can be proud. We have had 3 general elections and we can be proud of all this. But it is equally true that the expectations of the people remain mostly unfulfilled. They remain unrealized. What are the expectations of the people? They wanted an adequate supply of drinking water. They wanted a little more wholesome food in their stomach, a little more cloth on their bodies, a stronger roof over their heads, freedom from the clutches of the corrupt officials and the grabbing intermediaries, and speedier justice. But what have we done? Have we been able to satisfy those expectations? I can say no. Even in the 11th 5-year plan, we find that all the villages have not been provided with adequate supply of drinking water. And as for food, only the other day, the finance minister himself admitted in the other house that there was adulteration of foodstuffs all round. Not only that, a former health minister admitted in this house that it was difficult to get any article of food unadulterated. Then what is the use of talking about pure food articles and of other health facilities when the people are getting articles which are as good as poison? They are injurious to health. The other day, the finance minister is reported to have said that the taxation proposals did not affect the common man because he needed only coarse cloth and ordinary food. During the last 5 years, we have raised rupees 424 crores more. Including the taxation measures this year, the increase in revenue will be adult 75%. Since 2006, we have raised additional taxation to the tune of 75%, and during the 5 years preceding this year, the revenue expenditure has gone up by 85%. I would like to know how much of this amount has gone towards developmental expenditure and towards social services. 826 वर्ड है, 100 की स्पीड है, 90 पे लिखेंगे. Ready? Start it. In presenting this report, my first duty would be to thank the Debar Commission for preparing this valuable document. The Commission have gone deep into the various aspects of this problem and have produced an important and valuable document. The Commission had to tour a lot and they had to put in very hard work. I should like to convey my thanks and congratulations to the chairman of the Commission, Sri Debar, and also to his other colleagues for this useful contribution. As the House is aware, the problem of the scheduled tribes has been constantly engaging the attention of the government since the Constitution was framed and adopted. Still, the government were not satisfied with the actual progress made. It was in that context that the government appointed two committees before the Debar Commission was appointed. The first was the Elvin Committee, which especially dealt with the problems of the tribal blocks. The second committee was appointed on the suggestion of the Estimates Committee to study the problem of the backward committees especially. On top of that, in pursuance of Article 339 of the Constitution, the government appointed the Debar Commission, and now it is for the House to give its opinion on the recommendations made by the Commission. Our desire is that as soon as the Parliament, this House as well as the other House has discussed this report and expressed its views, we will go ahead with the recommendations made, and we will certainly like that they are implemented as early as possible. I do not want to enter into generalities, but it must be said that our country is vast and our problems are also immense. Generally, we are a very poor country, and it is true that during the British days, we did not actually realize what poverty meant. People suffered without much protest, but now, when the country is trying to go ahead with economic development, it is but natural that every section of our community should like to progress simultaneously. I think if we are frank, we should admit that there are certain weaker sections of our community should like to progress simultaneously. I think if we are frank, we should admit that there are certain weaker sections of our community in the country who have not made as much advance and progress as others have done. It has therefore and progress as others have done, it has therefore become very important that we should lay special emphasis on the development of the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. So far as matter relating to trustees to whom the property has been entrusted or in case of disability as minors or insane persons and similar cases are concerned, of course, we will have to take all necessary precautions, and if necessary, we can extend the time so that these persons who are suffering under any disability should not in the long run suffer on account of the provisions of the Limitation Act. That is one of the fundamental things which I hope the select committee will bear in mind. Apart from these two considerations, the other consideration that I will place before the select committee is relating to property, whether it is on the basis of contract of others. I am glad that they are trying to very much simplify things by including definite categories into a simple form. Similarly, by including petitions in applications, they are trying to cover up a bigger scope, and all these details I need not go into at this stage, but I would request that they get the time reduced rather than extend it. For instance, in money matters, instead of 3 years, I would be happy if it is a case of 1 year. In matters of land, of course, those days when there were big jamidars, big talukdars or big jagirdars were different. Now the whole trend has changed. If at all litigation is confined to commercial matters where everybody is alert, the circumstances do demand, and if there is anything wrong, if somebody wants to claim something from the other party, it is no use sleeping over it. So, the period of limitation should be considered in all these matters from this angle, that so far as possible, let the litigation be introduced or let the suit be filed as early as possible, and accordingly the disposal could also be done. So, I would request the select committee to take the changed circumstances of the country into consideration and come to the conclusion to simplify matters, and let us reduce it so that the limitation as far as possible may be reduced. We know that protracted disputes go on, as I have just pointed out, which give rise to different interpretations as evident from the Law Commission report, and different high courts have taken different views on certain matters. That creates confusion, that creates difficulties, unless either in the all decisions there is a clear decision of the Privy Council, or at present there is a clear decision of the Supreme Court, difficulties would arise. So I would suggest that all these cases should be taken into consideration. 865 वर्ड है, 90 की स्पीड है, 80 पे लिखेंगे. Started. It was suggested by the Commission that there should be separate department for the scheduled tribes. This matter was considered in the conference, but it was generally felt that if the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes are separated to be dealt with by different departments, there will be a good deal of duplication of work because two sets of officers will have to traverse the same area and more or less consider the same problems. It was therefore the unanimous opinion of the Conference of State Ministers that one department should deal with the problems of the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes, and it was also agreed that there should be a separate directorate for the same. If there is a separate directorate, then it can concentrate on problems concerning the scheduled tribes. It was also suggested that this directorate, which will have to be set up in all the states and especially in states where the population of the scheduled tribes exceeds 1 million, should also look after the work relating to the denotified and the nomadic tribes, in addition to, as I said, the work relating to the scheduled tribes. The conference was in favor of having tribes advisory councils to advise on the protection and development of the scheduled tribes in all the states and union territories, whether they have scheduled areas or not. The House, I am sure, I aware that there are scheduled areas nor scheduled areas. Even in non-scheduled areas, large number of scheduled tribes live, but for the special programs, we have decided to concentrate on the scheduled areas first. I shall come to that point later on, but I am merely mentioning that the scheduled tribes live both in scheduled areas first. I shall come to that point later on, but I am merely mentioning that the scheduled tribes live both in scheduled areas and in non-scheduled areas. It was decided that whether at present there is a combined reservation in the services for the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes, separate percentages of reservation should be fixed by the state government, and it was agreed that the state government would instruct all local authorities like municipalities, panchayat samitis, Jila Parishad, etc. to follow the policies laid down by them regarding to the representation of all scheduled tribes in the services. It was decided to have a small committee of officials from the tribal welfare department and the different departments at the state level to ensure coordination. It is necessary that we should carefully consider the various recommendations made and see what we can do to achieve a certain target within a prescribed period. The scheduled tribes have been living in isolated places, far off places, not connected with roads. They do not have any amenities of life, neither medical aid nor even proper educational facilities. We have to bring them out of that situation, and we must try to integrate those people with other sections of our countrymen. It is far from my mind to suggest that we should impose anything on them, whether our customs or culture, though the culture is more or less common throughout the country, but every community has its own conventions and customs. Therefore, when I say that there should be complete integration, I do not mean to suggest that there should be imposition of anything on the tribal communities as such. Still, it is essential that integration will only be possible if their standards are raised, if they are more or less brought to the same level where we or the other people are who are not so isolated. So, we have to bring these people to that level, and we can do that not by implementing certain schemes only, but by bringing about a radical change in our outlook and approach. There may be different communities and different religions in our country, but India had its own unique tradition in the past, which we have to carry on and maintain even now. In fact, our philosophic base has been unity in diversity, and in it is our good fortune that when we are free, when we have become independent, various communities and religions exist in our country, and in it should be our effort to bring about complete unity and solidarity amongst ourselves, even if our religions are different and we differ in our customs, rights, etc. So, I think that it is a challenge to all of us, and I have no doubt that we will be able to meet this challenge. I do not want to take more time of the house. As I said in the beginning, I do want to enter into generalities. So far as the recommendations of the Commission are concerned, they can broadly be divided into two categories. There are recommendations which are to be dealt with or which directly concern the Home Ministry and some other ministries of the government of India. There are other recommendations which mainly concern the state governments. In fact, it is the state governments which have really to execute and implement the programs. 867 वर्ड्स है, 80 की स्पीड है. जो अच्छी लिखी है वो टाइप कर सकते हो, नहीं टाइप करना तो आप सीन कंटेंट या कोई भी कंटेंट आप टाइप करेंगे सॉफ्टवेयर पे. जो 1 दिसंबर से रहेगा भाई वो ये रहेगी स्ट्रक्चर. एक बच्चा एक बार ही टाइप करेगा, एक बैच का बच्चा. 2 बैच का बच्चा 3 बार टाइप कर सकता है. दूसरा बैच 12 बजे होगा. बाकी अनलिमिटेड के लिए 3 कितना भी टाइप करो. इवन नीचे बोल भी दिया उनको. टाइप करेंगे, प्रिंट आउट निकालेंगे, दिखा देंगे, और नहीं तो फिर उधर बैठो डिक्टेशन में लगाता हूँ मैं, आपकी जो डिक्टेशन है वो लगवाता हूँ.